You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 139. I'm Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest is the founder and owner of Soul Revival Cookhouse. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure we'll all be inspired by her story. Let's chop it up with Nieves Anderson. Nieves, how's it going?
It's going good.
Glad to hear that. First things first, I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, here to talk about all the great things you have going on in business with Soul Revival Cookhouse. But before we talk about the business, let's get to know the woman behind the brand. Born and raised in Prattville, Alabama. What was your upbringing like?
So my dad's a preacher, so I'm a PK. My mom was a school teacher. She just recently retired. She also plays the piano at church. I was born and raised in the church. I have two older brothers. I'm the only girl in the family. Throughout high school, I played basketball, volleyball. I ran track. So I had a great career in all three of those sports. I ended my last couple of years though in high school with volleyball. That was my favorite sport of all time. I really loved it. And I ended up, marrying my high school sweetheart. And we have two handsome boys, Jamichael and Jaden. And Jamichael is headed off to college in the fall. And then Jaden is right behind him 2 years later.
Okay, awesome stuff. I appreciate you for sharing your story. Dad was a pastor, mom was an educator. You had two brothers, so it sounds like you had a great village around you growing up.
I did. I really did.
Yes, ma'am. That's definitely what it takes. So, with the infrastructure you come from, I'm pretty sure when it came to schoolwork and things of that nature, your parents didn't play no games.
Oh no, my dad, my dad was a little lenient though.
Mhm.
My mom, not so much. She definitely stayed on me. It was not acceptable to bring home anything below a C.
Mhm.
She always used to tell me now, if you're a C student, then you're a C student, but you're not a C student, so I don't expect to see anything below a B. So yeah, she was very, very hard, but it paid off in the long run. And I'm super grateful and blessed for my mom for doing that. And also, my dad as well. He was more of the as far as like education, he more taught me more street wise. He used to always tell me, because I used to always be in the mirror, combing my hair. And he used to say, that pretty face is not going to get you anywhere. You got to have some common sense. And, and you're going to have to have some street sense. And so my dad, he taught me that. And so I kind of got the best of both worlds to be able to navigate in the world.
Absolutely, that's great stuff, and that's the power of the village. And like you said, you had dad giving you the street sense, mom giving you the book sense, and both of them are pivotal to make it out here in the world, as you found out as you grew up. I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. So you go on to attend Stanhope Elmore, graduate from there. Come on up the road to attend the Alabama State University. What was the HBCU experience like for you?
Well, I did not get to go to college. Right after high school, I actually was pregnant with our first son, Jamichael, and I ended up staying home. I could have went off to school still, but I I wanted to take care of my child myself. I knew my mom. I knew my then boyfriend mom, who was my husband's now. I knew they would have took care, of Jamaica with no problem while I got to experience the college life. But I chose to be a mom. I chose to, make that choice. And I wanted to, step up and take the responsibility. So I decided to stay home and I went to school online. I was able to go on campus a lot and go to different things that mixers and stuff like that that they had on campus. So I did get to experience, so to speak, like the HBCU college campus, not living on campus, but I did get to experience it some, but not, like full time.
Okay, definitely understand that. It just sounds like you decided, like you said, take responsibility for your child and be a mother and go
Yes,
online, do the school thing. Nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. Much respect because, like you said, to your point, you could have easily allowed the grandparents to take care of your child while you did the school
right.
thing, but you decided to be responsible and take accountability and raise your son. Much respect.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. That's awesome. So you go online, school in Alabama State, and I know we were talking um, offline. You ended up completing your bachelor's degree at Clark Atlanta. So what exactly inspired you, encouraged you to go back to finish up?
Well, once I started at Alabama State online, having a child, having to take a break, having to start working earlier than I wanted to, as far as like diving into like real work, I call it. I had to take breaks here and there. So it was like so many breaks I took on and off for a lot of years. Um, my husband and I ended up having our second child 2 years after Jermichael and Jaden. And I would go, I would stop. I would go, I would stop because, life happens, you're raising kids, you're working. And I just never kept going. And I had so many credits built up. And then with COVID, and I had a lot of time on my hands. So I was like, you know what, let me see how many credits I have and let me just finish it up. And Clark, I didn't really, I could have went anywhere. I could have, did Troy online or something like that. But I did some research and I like, some of the programs that Clark had. And so I just decided to finish up at Clark, online. It was pretty easy. It was one semester and basically done.
Hmm. That's what I'm talking about. Finishing what you start, just having that courage, just having that determination to finish what you start. Much respect. That's what it's all about. And I mean, I definitely understand just in terms of the dynamic that you were in, having children and
Yes.
being in life be lifing, and hats off to you for continuing to
Thank you.
persevere. Yes, ma'am. Because having to start and stop, I can only imagine having to do that, especially with the family dynamic in place. So you go on and finish your degree in 2020. And speaking of 2020, that actually transitions into the next portion perfectly. And during the pandemic in 2020, we all know what that was. That was a very interesting time, scary to say the least. People were
Yeah.
passing, yes, ma'am. People passing away at an alarming rate. And I was reading up on your backstory just in terms of you beginning to cook during the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about what exactly
Yeah.
intrigued you to get
Um,
into that?
yeah, so I remember when COVID was happening and this has happened before, but it never touched home for us here. So we knew like, oh, this is not gonna work to us. And so they told us to go home and work from home and hey, we'll be back in a week or two. Cool. So then turned into another week and another week to we were home. And so I had a family already, so I was already cooking dinner for my family. That wasn't anything out of the norm. But it all started, it was one day I called my mom and I to make me a 5 flavor pound. I had a craving for it. And I called her. She said, well, I just don't feel like it today, but I'll do it tomorrow. But I really, really wanted it right like that day, that evening. So I said, send me the recipe. Now, mind you, I never pound cake in my life. I bake cupcakes and box cakes, but not pound cakes. So she sent me the recipe. I did it. I took a picture of it. I posted it. It was beautiful and it tasted delicious. My mom tasted it. She said it was great. Another friend saw it and she said, can I taste it? And I said, yes. And so she shared. So it started off doing desserts, baking cakes. Then I started just cooking more than I normally did at home because I just had so much time on my hands that I was like, I'm going to try this recipe, try this recipe. So I tried it. I started doing that. And I was basically my husband's plate that he would eat. And I would post a picture of it. And people would start commenting on it. And oh my God, that looks so good. I want to taste it. And one thing other, I was feeding families, letting them taste it. They were social media. And one day, a friend of mine, she just had a baby. She couldn't go anywhere. It was COVID. It was their anniversary. So she hey, would you like the house and do like a dinner? I was like, oh my God, it'll be great. So she invited, I think, brother and his wife. And so they came over. It was 4 adults. And I went to her kitchen and I cooked and she took some pictures and I posted it. And then the next thing you know, it was a snowball effect. I kept getting another message to do this and do that. And then I had a brunch for my family. I was like, let me put on this brunch. I want to post some pictures and videos of it. I want to see what's going to happen. So I did a brunch at my in-laws' house, pictures, videos, and then I got another phone call for something else. Then I had a wedding, and it was very small. And then the next thing I know, I'm a full-on caterer, and I didn't even know it. Started off just doing like the private chef stuff, like at people's homes, and they call me Chef Snow, and I wanted to go by that name because my name, Nieves, in English means snow. And a lot of people have a very hard time pronouncing my name. So I said Chef Snow. So here I go. Chef Snow is born. I go doing all these private dinners and people sharing it on social media. And at the time around here, people wasn't doing the private chef thing. Um, you had some chefs around here in the area, but they wasn't doing what I was doing. So I started just doing it more and I started making a name for myself. And those little private, intimate dinners became big dinners with other people. And then it became corporate things. I kept my job all while doing this because a lot of it was weekend events. And the next thing I know, I think it was a couple months in, I was like really rolling with doing catering. And one thing led to another. And I ended up opening a restaurant.
Mm. No, that's an amazing story, and I appreciate you for sharing that and breaking that down. And hats off to your mom for not feeling like cooking that cake because it birthed the business.
Right, right.
Amazing.
It's crazy because I've always been a little entrepreneur all of my life. I always dabbled and dabbled in different things. A lot of people used to laugh at me about the things that I was doing because it would be like, Nieves, what are you doing now? What are you up to now? And I'm like, oh, I'm trying this. I want to do this. And I used to always come up with different ways to make money, different to, billionaire or something like that. And I just never had people to really like leave and really like go all in on my ideas. They would laugh because it's like, here's me and girl, what are you doing? And a funny joke, I've been with my husband for over 20 years. And I used to always want to bring food to family functions and they would never let me. I had to bring sodas and plates. And he comes from a cooking family. And it was probably like, I remember a Facebook post came up, it was a memory. And I think I said year 12 or 13, and I'm still having to bring drinks or something. And joke about cooking and they have, and now looking back on those memories is fun because I took that and now they ask me to do things. They cook things. And they look for me to cook stuff. And it's just funny looking back on that to where I am now because cooking was never something that I wanted to do. I never wanted to be a chef. I never wanted to be a restaurant owner. I've always been in business management, an office manager, a personal assistant, an executive assistant. I've always been those type of things. I've also been in the financial world as well as a personal banker. So restaurant was nowhere on my radar. I love food. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big foodie, but restaurant was never on my radar. It just, as having that entrepreneurial spirit and mindset, it was something that like clicked. And I was like, I think I found my purpose now because this is working. This is something that's really taking its way and is really flowing now. So let me keep going and see what's going to happen. And I knew Prattville did not have soul food. And I knew they needed soul food. And although what I did was more on a higher scale as far as my elegant dinners and things like that, I knew they needed soul food. But I said, with bringing soul food, I can elevate soul food and also bring what I do as far as my, special dinners and things like that, and also bring that into the restaurant as well to make it a little bit different too. Put a little spin on it. So here I am.
Hmm. That's an amazing story, and I appreciate you for breaking all that down and just sharing the entire journey from going from people telling you to only bring sodas to the family function to now they want you to cook at the family functions and to the very beginning. It's amazing, Nieves, just in terms of how we land on landing different spots in our lives. Like we never know how we're gonna get somewhere, especially with you saying you always had the entrepreneurial spirit and just how it all came full circle, how everything came about. It's just amazing hearing those type of stories because it's so organic. It's not anything you could have planned or written out, you know?
Yeah, that's what makes it so special. Um, this wasn't on my radar. This wasn't something I planned on doing. It just happened. And you know, sometimes you have to risk it all, for a dream only you can see. Um, no one understood my vision. They just looked at it as here she goes again. And my family supported me. They had my back. Although they'll say, "What are you doing now?" They always going to have my back. My parents, my in-laws, I would call them and say, "Hey, I'm doing this. I need y'all for this," and they would jump right in and help. I just never knew this was going to happen. And of course, I have days where I want to quit and I want to give up because all of this is so new to me. I'm still learning. But I have to think about all the people that are rooting for me, all the people in the background that are sitting there watching me and they're getting motivated by me. This knowing that is what keeps me going. And that's why I don't quit because I know it's people out there that want to see me win. So I just don't give up. I keep going.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And that's a very powerful point you made about people not being able to see your vision. And they shouldn't be able to. God gave it to you, not them. So most people not
Right.
going to be able to understand why you're doing it. And hats off to you for not giving up and not allowing yourself, not letting yourself off the hook. Because you could have easily said, you know what, I'm doing well in the administration field, office management. I don't need this restaurant thing, but staying obedient and staying in the lane that you're in and just having that vision to even bring soul food to a city like Prattville that needed that and being willing to chart your own path and just having that courage. Just to me, it just sounds like a woman that's obedient to God and just move on faith, not fear.
Yes, yes, definitely. You definitely gotta have faith over fear. I always used to think like, I always tell people, they'll say, "Well, I haven't done this yet because I haven't got this, or I haven't um done this because I'm still waiting on this, and I need to build up to this, and I need to have this." Well, I learned that this will never come sometimes,
Right.
and you got to step out on faith and just have to believe and trust that God is going to supply all of your needs. And I had to truly embrace that. And when I truly embraced that and I truly, truly believe that, that's when I started to blossom. That's when I started to glow. That's when I started to have the most confidence that I ever have had in my entire life because I truly let go and I let God. And you can't wait because if you wait, that it may never come. So you just got to go with it. The only way that you're going to know if you're going to succeed or fail is if you try. And if you don't try, you don't know whether you're going to do either or. But at least you can say, you know what? I gave it a try. I tried it. Let me go back to the drawing board and see what I did wrong, the reason why I failed. And then sometimes when you are succeeding, you get setbacks. And things do happen, and you have to go back to the drawing board to see what you need to do to reinvent the wheel again. But if you don't try, you'll never know if you're always waiting on, a certain thing to happen because life is going to keep going. As you know, people leaving here every day. It used to be the old, it's everybody, it's anybody now. And so I always live life to the fullest. And I go out and I do whatever I want. And I do it with confidence. And I don't think twice about it.
Right, absolutely. And there's so much power in what you just said in terms of just moving in confidence and not thinking twice about it. And it's so true. A lot of people are waiting for the right time, the perfect conditions, and they just don't come. It just don't happen. It don't
Right.
never everything would not be in line. All the ducks won't be in a row. Life is gonna always throw curveballs at you because as soon as you say, so for instance, if someone say, okay, well, I'm going to launch that business as soon as I get the LLC. Okay, they get the
Yeah,
LLC, and then okay, well, as soon as I get the logo, they get the logo, and then what? So
right.
it just turns into a bunch of waiting, procrastination,
Yeah,
and by the time you got everything together, now you feel like, oh, I spent so much time getting it all together. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know if I want to start now. So it's just to your point, you just got to go. I mean,
yeah.
that's amazing. So you coming out of the 9 to 5 world, you were working in administration prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur. When you got ready to make that transition, did you inform your coworkers what you're about to do, or did you just make the move, put in a 2 weeks notice, and get out of there?
Yeah, I just really made the move. Um, we were slowly actually going back to work, and I went back to work, and I actually was working and doing. So the restaurant had just opened, and I still was trying to work at my other job, but it took off so fast. It was no way that I could do it, and so I really didn't have time to really sit down and do this 2 weeks notice. I just had to say, hey, thank you, I appreciate it, but I gotta go. It made it easier because I was on contract. So I wasn't like a full-time own employee. I was contracted in. So my contract was renewed during COVID time. So, it wasn't as hard for me to leave. It kind of was like, bye, I'm gone.
Hmm. Okay. Makes sense. Hey, it was right on time. The contract ended right on time, didn't
Yeah.
it? That's amazing. Soul Revival Cookhouse. What inspired that name? It's very intriguing.
Yeah, so I was what was I? Snow Cookhouse and Catering. That's what my catering name was. And at first I said I was gonna do Snow Cafe, but I was like, no, if I'm doing soul food, it don't need to be cafe. So I was talking to my friend Michelle, and we were kind of going over names. And we were talking about the menu, what we're gonna have, and how it was gonna be. And I knew I was doing soul food with a spin. So we knew we wanted to have the word soul in it for soul food. We came up with revival because my tagline was elevating soul food one bite at a time. Now it's elevated soul food. Um, and that's where the revival came in at because it's a spin on soul food. So soul revival, we're elevating soul food. We're reviving soul food. You're not getting, you're still getting that old school soul food, but it's with a twist. It tastes different. You can look at it and it looks different. And it got a different spin on it. So I was like, Soul Revival Cookhouse,
Hmm.
elevating soul food one bite at a time. Because I knew I was coming in with different things. So the revival just fit in just perfect because it was like when I think of a revival, I think of reviving something, um, livening it up, recreating it. So it just worked.
Okay. No, that's a very organic way you came up with the name. And actually, just based on what you were telling me earlier about your dad, I was starting to think that the revival was a play on the church because revival is a church service type of thing that's usually during the week. And
Yeah.
so you growing up in the church, I'm pretty sure you went to Sunday school,
Yes.
service, vacation Bible school, and
Hmm.
revival.
Oh yeah, definitely did that. I did that a lot growing up. So yeah, I did think about church when I thought about the word revival because I was just trying to play with it and say, okay, revival. When I go to church, you go to revival, you're reviving your spirit, your mind, getting more in tune with God, and you feel revived when you come out. So I want people to come in my restaurant and feel revived when they eat my food. So that's where the revival came in at.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's great. That's a powerful story and just a great organic way you came up with the name and the meaning behind it, and that's amazing. So, what would you say is the most popular item on the menu?
Our honey pepper fried chicken.
Honey pepper. Man, that sounds amazing. That sounds
Our honey pepper
spicy.
fried chicken is our best seller. All of our menu items are great, but that's what we're known for. When you associate Soul Revival Cookhouse, besides catering, they're gonna always associate it with our honey pepper fried chicken. We're the only ones in the Tri-County area that sells that. Actually, we're the only ones that I know anywhere right now that sells it. We have people to travel from places all over to come and eat our chicken. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that. When they do that, they're traveling. They say, "Oh, we heard about your chicken, so we want to taste it. We came from here. We came from there. We were traveling through for vacation or going back home. We already heard about you. You're one of the places we wanted to stop at to try the chicken, and it never disappoints."
Hmm, that's amazing. So, off the top of your head, where's the farthest someone has traveled to? I mean, whether they were coming through Alabama, like what's the farthest place someone has came from and ended up in Prattville that you could think of off the top of your head?
Well, these people actually, it was a group of people. They didn't come here specifically for Soul Revival, but they were coming in town for a meeting, and they were looking at restaurants for catering. And before they even arrived here, I think this was like a central location stop for them. They were from Canada, and they looked us up online, and they really wanted to try the fried chicken. So they said, based off of the reviews off the fried chicken and looking at the pictures, they wanted to stop here to have my food. So they ended up having a dinner meeting at a venue at the Elms at Casada, and they reached out to me, and I went over there and we cooked food and we served them, and they loved it. So I wouldn't say they actually came for me, but when they were coming here to the States, they knew they wanted to eat my food, and they could have catered Olive Garden. They could have catered Longhorn. They could have catered Outback, but they wanted Soul Revival Cookhouse, and they wanted the fried chicken, and they had okra, I think fried green tomatoes. They wanted all the things from the South that they don't get in Canada. So they wanted all that stuff here, and they loved it. I've had people to come from Florida. I've had people to come from Georgia, of course. But yeah, they travel if they're coming through and they look us up. I talk to all my customers. I try to, and I always ask them, "How did you hear about us?" And they'll tell me this, like, "We heard about your fried chicken, and we were getting ready to go home, or we were passing through, headed this way, and we had to come here and try it." So
Mm. Well, hey, you can be all humble if you want to. I'm gonna say they came from Canada to see what Soul Revival Cookout was. I mean, hey, Soul Revival Cookout International, y'all. In case you ain't know, now you know. No, that's amazing. That's great, and it's so cool. And that's the importance of having a good product and people spreading the positivity, word of mouth. It travels, and these people were here for a conference. They did a Google search, saw all the great things you had going on. So that's amazing, and it just goes back to having that courage to start that business. So imagine if you would have let family talk you out of it, you wouldn't be internationally known now. So that's amazing. Like just
yeah.
staying obedient and just staying focused and just believe in yourself. No, that's an amazing story. I appreciate you for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, ma'am. So with you being a restaurant owner, doing great things, when you go out and patronize other restaurants, what makes for a great experience in your opinion?
Oh, I'm so picky. I've always been picky though, but I'm it's hard for me to go out to eat
Hmm.
because um it was just so hard for me to go out to eat. However, I do have places that I love that never disappoint. Um, and that's Charles Anthony. I love that place. And I love Olive Garden. Olive Garden's one of my favorites. But other than that, I love other places that are like not here, they're in different states. When I go places, when I walk in the door, I look for cleanliness. I look for friendliness and great food. You gotta have great food. That's what I look for. And if they don't have that, it's not gonna work for me. But it's really hard to please me. And a lot of times, being in a small town, everyone kind of knows who you are. They've seen me either on TV, my social media, or someone shared that I catered a wedding or catered an event. And then I have new followers, and I would be out and about, and people, I'll walk in the store like, "Oh, Chef Snow, is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." That it's pretty cool. So when I go to restaurants, a lot of times people will recognize who I am, and they'll go like make sure that everything just like really really good, or they'll ask me like, how is it? Or the manager will come out and ask me, how is it? Was everything okay? And, I'm really honest and I'll tell them, what I didn't like or if I didn't like anything. But it's really hard for me to go out to eat. So I don't go out to eat as much as I should or as I want to because it's just super hard for me to go out to eat. But one of my things I do want to do in the future is to be able to travel to eat at different places and give really good reviews. A lot of people have asked me to do that, but I feel like I'm not ready to do that yet. I want to make sure that my place is where I need it to be and my flavors and my food is where I need it to be before I do that because I'm always still learning. And I'm not ready to critique really anybody yet on that level, but I'm close to being there. And that's something I want to do in the future for sure. But yeah, it's definitely hard for me to go out to eat. Definitely. My husband hates it because he always knows it's gonna be something. But yeah, it's hard. It's super hard.
I definitely understand that, and nothing wrong with that. You like what you like, and being picky isn't a bad thing. I mean, that's definitely the things that you named are very important when you go into a restaurant. It needs to be clean. People need to be friendly, and the food should be great. Otherwise, why do you have a restaurant if you can't keep it clean? People can't be
Right.
friendly. I mean, not trying to be whatever, but this what you signed up for. So people expect a certain experience, so that I definitely understand where you're coming from in terms of just being picky and going to those certain places. And yeah, Charles Anthony, pretty high standard. Like, so I can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've never disappointed, and Olive Garden is pretty good as well. And yeah, that's great that you have the awareness that hey, you want to make sure your restaurant is up to par before you go out and about and start critiquing other places because you already know what's gonna happen. People see
Yeah.
People see you critiquing other players, they be like, okay, we coming to Prattville to see what she got going on. And even if you don't have
Right.
and even
Right. And then here it goes, like she was over here critiquing this place and her stuff, you know. But
exactly.
at the end of the day, I have to remember too, like, I can't please everyone. And I always, tell people, everyone, they don't like my food. Everybody doesn't like my food, and that's okay. And I always tell them, soul revival is not for everyone. And everyone is not for soul revival. And that's totally okay. And I had to learn that. I used to go online every day, monitoring reviews and trying to respond to people and see why they said this and said that. I was so tired and just stressed out from that. And I had to learn that, you know what, I only can do the best that I can do. And soul revival is not for everybody, and everybody's not for soul revival. And it is okay, and I just keep it moving.
Absolutely. And that's the mindset to have. And trust me, I'm right there with you. I understand this podcast isn't for everyone, and that's okay. I mean, just because and I'll be honest with you, there's certain restaurants, there's certain brands I don't support and they're still thriving. So guess what? It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, and honestly, just the time we in, unfortunately, Niv, is some people take pride in trying to tear you down because they want to get a
Yes.
reaction out of you. They want
Yes.
like they want you to cuss them out and call them everything but a child of God, so they can say, "Ooh, look, y'all,
Right.
this ain't that." So that's great. I mean, like you said, just keep your head up and just understanding, hey, my food isn't for everyone, and that's all right. And you can leave whatever review you're gonna leave and go on about your day and have a good one. And I'm saying, and that's just the spirit to have, because otherwise, people have you riled up and fired up,
Oh
and
yeah. Oh yeah, I've been there, but I've learned to being a business owner, you have to, be mindful and be careful of what you say and how you react. And you're right, they try to get a reaction out of me, but I know my truths. I know what I built and what I'm currently building and what I worked hard for. And I'm not going to allow anyone to deter me from that, distract me from that, tear me down because I know who I am. I know where I come from. I know where I'm going. So people can have all of the opinions that they choose to have. It doesn't bother me anymore because I stand in my truth. I stand in who I am, and I keep it at that, and I just keep it moving.
yes, ma'am. Absolutely. That's all you can do. That's a powerful stuff, and I agree wholeheartedly. So Typically, at this portion of the podcast, I like to talk about three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. You pretty much covered all those things. Like you had your aha moment, and you talked about that earlier, just in terms of wanting to bake a cake, wanting your mom to bake a cake, and she told you no, and that birthed this cooking
Yeah.
this cooking aficionado that you become. And then, so just in terms of the action portion, you launched the business in 2020 and got it off the ground during the pandemic, which is courageous in itself. So that next portion, audacity, just your trust in God, your belief in yourself. You gave yourself the audacity to put Soul Revival Cookhouse out to the world. Is that accurate, or is there anything else you want to add to it?
No, no, that's pretty dead on.
Okay. Awesome. Good stuff. You've done great things with the restaurant. I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are some of your short-term and long-term goals you feel comfortable sharing?
Well, a lot of people know that I'm working on a cooking show. A lot of people have asked me to do a cooking show, share recipes, share recipes. So I am currently working with production, doing a cooking show. It's going to just be pre-recorded, and I'll roll them out probably once a week. And I'm start off doing it in my kitchen, and the goal is to hopefully move to a bigger platform, Food Network, one day, to do a cooking show there. And I'm actually working on my cookbook slash memoir. So that will be coming out late this year, maybe early next year. So I'm currently working on that as well. And so that's what I have going on right now.
Okay, great stuff. And I have no doubt you'll do great things with everything coming down the pipeline, and everything's going to be a huge success. Looking forward to it.
You.
Yes, ma'am. As we wrap up the podcast, I want to ask the $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness connected to the city of Montgomery and surrounding areas. Whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, being college, military, or work, you being a hometown hero from the river region. Nieves, what makes you the most proud to be from this region?
The people. Um, Being in a small town, the people they really support you. They become like family to you. I've met so many people on this journey that have actually became my friends, my really good friends. Um, it's just the support. I never could imagine having this much support from this many people. A lot of them, I don't even know who they are, but they know me. They would see me in the stores, at the bank, anywhere, and they know exactly who I am. And I don't know them, but they know me. And the support is so overwhelming. And they say a small town can be a blessing and a curse at the same time. But for me, it's been nothing but a blessing. So I'm super grateful and super thankful for the city of Prattville, but also the Tri-County area as well, because they come from near and far, and they've been supporting me since day one. And I am forever grateful for those that have continued to do so, whether they've been in there one time or multiple times. I'm super grateful and super thankful for everyone.
Yes, ma'am. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. How can people connect with you? What are your social media handles and website?
So we're currently working on our new website that will be launching in another month. So we will be posting that on our social media page. But our Facebook page is Soul Revival Cookhouse. Our Instagram is also Soul Revival Cookhouse as well.
Okay, too easy. And of course, I'll put all of that information in the description of the episode. Nieves, thanks again for the conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. In the meantime, in between time, y'all know what to do. Be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Go. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.